Peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Got to jump right into some bite down boxing talk. You know, it's crazy because I think in general, like, boxing should really be celebrated this weekend. This had to be the biggest sporting event, going on in North America. And that's gone on in North America in what? 16, 18 months or whatever, something like 15 months. I don't know. So, to come out today and yesterday and not keep the focus on, what boxing has accomplished here. I don't know how we kick the sport when it's down, and don't take a moment to pause and respect anything. So I don't want to get on my soapbox with all of that. Let's just jump into the card a little bit. I told you beforehand that, I was a little disappointed in the undercard. I laid out some reasons of why I thought the undercard was light. Unfortunate situation there with Nagy Aguilera against Frank Sanchez. And I haven't even watched all the undercard fights, to be honest. I didn't see the Sissoko victory, the Takayama fight being stopped by Lawrence Cole at the juncture in which he stopped it. Again, it's boxing, man. It's always something. And then what was the other fight? Well, and then, Kelvin Davis got knocked down in the last round of his fight. I really, I watched 3 or 4 rounds of the Keyshawn Davis fight, and I was a little disappointed with him, with his performance coming into it, to be honest. Not disappointed, just kind of didn't see the same guy last time out. And so that upward trajectory really didn't happen for me with his performance. But he got the victory, and the kid is going places. So, and he's staying active. He's able to get on with his career and continue working at this stage. So with that said, let's jump into the main event. Crazy thing is to see kind of the evolution or this transition from by Canelo in his fighting style and kind of honing in on what his identity as a super middleweight is. And, possibly, I guess, what some of the stuff that he started at, even at middleweight. But it's kind of similar to what we're seeing with Terrence Crawford right now. Like, neither one of these guys are really, expending a lot of unnecessary energy. They're coming like these, they're becoming these precise, just like punishment machines, or just maximizing these moments that they create with using all of their boxing game and ring IQ, ring generalship, and really not, focusing on the volume side of things. I saw one tweet out there from Dan Canobio, who's involved, or his family is behind the whole punch that thing. But this was one of the lowest punch out rates, punches per round for Canelo. And my notes that I had kind of indicated that, like, he basically was doing very little with the jab, and just opted to really rely on power punches from the outset. And so that's, I'm loving this creativity to get this done, to be a more of a fighter, like I said, a smart brawler, a punisher, versus just being a guy in here jabbing and wasting time and wasting energy. We know he's had some issues with energy in fights and not fighting all of the 3 minutes and whatnot. And this style is kind of, maybe this transition to this is allowing him to eliminate that issue. But he started, establishing the left hooks to the body very early. Again, that's a little more challenging to place those because the body is kind of closed off to an orthodox fighter with BJ's southpaw stance. But that he was kind of setting up his kind of like this step forward or step in right hand that he was setting up with a jab or a double jab here and there, and Billy Joe didn't really have any great answer for that early on. It's kind of in the third round when Billy Joe starts to figure out how to use his movement to allow him to operate and have some success. Again, I thought round 3, round 4, more good work from Billy Joe. And this one I did have a note about Canelo, being able to land without using his jab or setting stuff up off of his jab. We see him running BJ into some uppercuts in that round as well. Round 5, I had a double jab. Surprises Canelo. That was where Billy Joe was using his movement and whatnot and landed that good double jab that kind of snapped the head of Canelo a little bit. Had a left hook from Billy Joe. And Billy Joe's craft, and managing his range and everything is probably at his best in this 3rd or 5th round. Round 6, some early use of the jab by Canelo. Canelo comes back and rallies this round, but he's mainly doing it in single shots. And Billy Joe kind of got away from what was, helping him reestablish himself in the fight at that point. Round 7. In round 6 was when they showed that double left hook combination from Canelo that kind of helped. That was a big part of him reasserting himself in round 6. Round 7, another good round for Billy Joe. Ring generalship. He seemed to have a better, like I said, he seemed to have he was better prepared for that right hook that Canelo was stepping forward with. And then in round 8, I thought Billy Joe, he thought he had Canelo solved. He drops the hands. He's trying to roll and slip with shots, fighting with his hands down, taunting, feinting, and this is probably a very unwise, unwise choice for Billy Joe to get too comfortable with a guy with the type of puncher and the type of fighter that Canelo is. He can make stuff happen. You're not out there with a guy who's incompetent. And so to sit there and stay in the pocket with your hands down, we see that he ducked into that right uppercut that caused all the trouble and basically ended the fight. What's his name? Christopher Pearson a few weeks ago against totally different level of fighter and a different level of a fight. But against Carlos Gongora on DAZN. Pearson ducked down into that the uppercut that he caught on his right eye and ended his night. And so, it basically comes down to, yes, I thought the fight was pretty good to this point. I was excited to see what was going to happen in the next 2 or 3 rounds based on, Billy Joe getting beat up and banged on quite a bit in that 8th round. His body language changed immediately. You could see, right after that uppercut, you saw stuff happening. You saw things developing on with the eye and the status of the eye. And like I said, his body, his body language changed. And then Canelo starts taunting him and waving on the crowd. So that Canelo knew he really, and that showing that slow motion. Again, I saw somebody saying that Canelo hasn't improved and he can't do this and he's not. What are you talking about? Like, he steps back and slips what was that, a right hand or right hook from Billy Joe, and then but doesn't really move his feet, stays in position to land the right uppercut that he landed, and lands a hell of a shot. I mean, what are we talking? I don't understand some of this stuff. You know, people just trying to do too much sometimes, in my opinion. But he comes out, and again, similar ending to Yildirim. Again, a much lower level quality fighter, but Yildirim, opted not to continue. Here we have a situation. Did Tibbs, the trainer of Billy Joe, ended? Did Billy Joe ended? Did he quit? At the end of the day, hey, again, we got to walk in these guys' shoes and understand the sacrifices and the adversity that they face. That's going to be what the word is. He quit. That's just the reality of boxing. Whether it was an honorable quit or a panic quit or just a quit, whatever it was, it was a quit. It was a surrender. Maybe it was a smart surrender. If we get some reports from Eddie Hearn that it was multiple fractures and whatnot. Hey, the trainer said his cheek was caved in. Canelo said he broke his cheek. He did what he had to do. We just saw Ebony Bridges. She made a tweet about, I know he just didn't quit because of his eye. And we're going, Billy is catching a lot of flack because of what and this is when you speak about stuff without actually walking in somebody's shoes. He made the strong comments about Dubois quitting after the jab to the eye. And, here he is in a lot of under duress, and we saw what he did. His trainer can cover for him and say that I made the decision, but Billy Joe didn't fight with him whatsoever. As far as we know, we didn't see any back and forth in there to let me continue. So it is what it is. I said in the preview that he would do something to avoid being knocked spark out. I didn't know it would be this, but and we can't. I can't overlook an injury. I don't know what the threat is there with fighting with an eye that's badly damaged like that. A blackened eye, a swollen eye is a lot, in my estimation, is a lot different from fighting with broken bones. That's a different level of pain, and I think a different potential for long-term injury. So I'm not qualified to really speak on that. We saw Inoue sustain a broken orbital bone or something in the fight against Nonito Donaire, and go 10 more rounds or 9 rounds or whatever. So, hey, like I said, it's easy to pile it on. It's justified in piling it on Billy Joe Saunders. He was probably in this fight. The cards were 78-74, 75-74, 78-74 in favor of Canelo. I'd probably give BJ 2 rounds. Wouldn't be mad at anybody who had him with 3 rounds. Very interesting scorecard from Chris Mannix, and what he does with his scoring and his opinions and, point of views on fights and whatnot, whatever. I thought it was a good fight, man. I thought it was a good moment for boxing. The event was big with the ring entrances. Billy Joe made the most of his moment. It was some good high-level boxing for several rounds. And again, it's been interesting to see the evolution of Canelo into this marksman punisher or whatever you want to call him. We turn our heads now to see what goes down with the fight with him and Caleb Plant. And I'm highly intrigued in seeing how that plays out. How boxing delivers a big fight that can, should, and needs to be made. I think Caleb Plant and the PBC are gonna make it more difficult. I do. for different reasons though. But let's not get into all of that. Salute to Canelo Alvarez, Bite Down Boxing Performer of the Week, Fighter of the Week. Our fans. I mean, 73,000 fans in the joint. I saw Fox come up with some coverage. I haven't seen too much from ESPN, but why would they? Of course, they have Top Rank, and then they have the UFC, ESPN Plus. So it is a lot of competition between them. But again, had to be the biggest sporting event going on in North America in quite some time. And I can't ignore that. Anyway, Bite Down Boxing, don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.